Fragments of Silicon, even when you're not really feeling great.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon, the Daylight Interviews. Joining us this week is Dimitra Papacosta of CRG Studio. Hello?
Hello? Yes? Is
There
this
we
where
go.
I say hi?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Dimitra, or you can also call me Dixie. That's the gamer tag I use. And I'm the communications and community manager at CRG Studio.
Okay.
We've been developing Crystalfall now for the last 4 years. So it's really fun to
Right.
be here and nice to meet you guys.
Mhm.
Likewise. I suppose my first question is, what does CRG Studio stand for, if anything?
That's a good question. The studio is registered as CRG, which initially didn't stand for anything. Then it stood for Cold River Games. But there was another gaming company with a similar name, so we decided to just change it so there wouldn't be any confusion. So we reverted back to CRG Studio. So it kind of stands for what you want it to stand for. I like to say that it just stands for cool rogue games or whatever. So yeah, it's just CRG Studio.
Yeah. Just as long as it doesn't stand for a river that is clear. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So with that out of the way, how did you end up joining CRG Studio?
Yeah, so I joined about 3 years ago. I was studying and I kind of got in here on a part-time with social media and community. I was writing my thesis on kind of games and immersion and that sort of like nerdy topic. So I did my thesis based primarily on that, but also like did some interviews with the team here. So I joined that way. I'd previously worked in communications and marketing, and I'd worked at GameStop and stuff. So I was sort of on track in the gaming industry already. And then after my studies, I got on full time, and it just grew from there. Now I'm kind of the sort of one woman army in terms of marketing and communications. And when I started, we had like 2, 3 dungeons, and now the game has come so far with like 5 full acts and many dungeons and a lot of systems that have grown. And it's been a really cool journey.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, that is often the case when it comes to small studios. People end up having to do either a lot of work or wear a lot of hats, or
Yeah, for
both.
sure. I mean, yeah, and I think, I mean, that's the fun part, right? That you get to do a bit of everything. I mean, I'm also involved with like the quests team, so we're like we don't have one specific person who does quests at the moment. So we're kind of like a core of Arvid, who is the game designer, who's like the lore master, and then we have a few programmers on the tech side, and then I do sort of the writing because I have a background in writing. So I kind of get to be on that side too. But I think that's the beauty of an indie and the beauty of being a small team, that you help each other and you try to sort of jump in where you're needed, and you try to learn a bunch of like skills you didn't think you would need to learn. But that's how you grow, right?
One way. And I suppose it's worth asking, how big is, at the very least, the team working on Crystalfall?
Yeah, so at the core, I mean, here in Umeå, which is North Sweden, I think we're like 13, 14 here in the studio. And then we have some people working remote, and we take in some consultants, especially now when things are like ramping up with Steam Next Fest and early access. Then we had to sort of get some help on QA and music, and of course localization as well. So we've got consultants there as well.
Mm.
So I think now we're about like a bit more than 20.
Yeah. Okay. Which is, I suppose, in like, it's all relative because for an indie team that's actually quite big, though for the kind of game you're developing, that's actually kind of tiny.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because when we talk to other indies and we say that we're 20 people, they're like, "Wow, okay, you've got like a good sized team," and then we say, "Yeah, but we're not doing like a simple game. This is a really difficult game to make, and it takes a long time, and it takes, you've got a lot of systems that need to sort of fit together, and the game is supposed to be endless, right? So there's a lot of balancing that goes into that. So yeah, for this type of game, it's a small team. Yeah.
Indeed.
But we
And
try to work smart. I mean, we try to work with a lot of sort of procedural thinking, and I think that's the way a small team can make a big game.
yes, I suppose that is the case. Although, once again, it kind of comes down to the kind of game you're making. Um, Speaking of which, it's probably worth actually introducing Crystalfall properly here, as in, what is it? What are you doing? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so Crystalfall is a classic sort of isometric hack and slash ARPG. And when we say classic, I mean our devs come from like the Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Path of Exile 1 days. So we like to say that we sort of harken back to to those sort of games where the focus was on items, and the focus was on killing basically for loot, and that you head into dungeons, you face a bunch of mobs and bosses, and you get cool gear, and you sort of progress. Um, so that's Cristofol in a sort of nutshell. But of course, when you go into sort of the details, that's where you see the differences or the comparisons with other games. I mean, in the RPG space doesn't have that many games. It's Path of Exile, it's Diablo, it's Last Epoch, it's Grim Dawn, and so forth. And in that sense, we like to say, just to sort of communicate quickly what our game is, we like to say that it's sort of the middle ground between Diablo 2 and Path of Exile 1.
I mean, that is actually important because, uh, to put simply, if you don't have any sort of differentiators, then you're just kind of Diablo again.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah, and I think when we started this journey, the studio started in 2021, and it began with a lot of sort of prototyping and experimentation, and it's like, where is there space to create something that is like a sort of like a unique hook as a small team. And I think one of the things that we realized is that, okay, there's clearly like a space for games that are not shifting, more to Souls-like, where it's a lot about adding these combat that is more difficult, and you're adding dodge rolls, and you're adding a lot of things that shift what the classic formula in RPGs was. So that's one thing, and that's where we sort of said, okay, can we go back to the loot driven part of ARPGs, where it's a lot about like itemization and trying to sort of set your character up with the right, synergies between items and skills and talents to progress rather than being able to sort of negate that strategy and that planning by like a dodge roll. So that's one thing. And then on the thematic side, we thought that a lot of these games sort of look the same. They're kind of dark, gothic, fantasy, and you play as humans and you fight these like demons and stuff. And we thought, okay, there's not a lot of steampunk, and the steampunk that's out there is maybe a little bit too colorful and cartoony for the kind of more serious approach that we wanted to take. So we thought, okay, dark steampunk, can that be something? And we started leaning into that pretty quickly and even more, and we're doing that in sort of in every aspect of the game, in the lore, in the story, in the fixes, in uniques, in tooltips and so forth, trying to really like bring forth that aesthetic with dark sort of post-apocalyptic steampunk. And that is how we got the characters. So the story in the game is basically like that an asteroid has crashed into the world of Crystalfall and caused mutations between humans and animals, and that's where you're playing as these mutants. And the whole sort of the premise of this story is that you have different factions or tribes of these mutants, if you like, but you've also got a steampunk world where there's robots or automatons, as we call them, and they also have different factions, and then you also have humans as well, and all of these different organizations, they want different things. Some of them want power, some of them want freedom, and they kind of clash. So this is where you come in as the character that you play. You sort of are not maybe the good guy who's going to save the world. You're more of a, okay, I'm a prisoner, I'm a convict, I'm going to escape, and I'm going to make my own sort of way in this world and carve out a path or a space for myself. So yeah, we're not taking like the typical hero journey approach.
I mean, that makes sense for what you're going for here. Given that you're going down a dark and gritty path, and white hat heroes is usually not a part of that story.
Yeah, and I think
Go
the
ahead.
thing with these games is, I mean, it's you're basically like you're slaying a bunch of monsters and taking their stuff, right? So it feels like a bit hypocritical in a way that you'll call yourself the hero. I mean, obviously that depends on how you set up the story, but I think there's already so many games where you're the one who's going to save the world, right? So I think it's a nice approach to be a more of a gray hero. And I mean, obviously there's the role-playing element. You can sort of make up your own story about who you are and why you're imprisoned. Obviously these characters have backstories, and that's something we want to build upon as we go along, adding more lore into the game.
Well, yeah, that does get me to a question in how narrative focused this actually is. Like, is it like, say, Diablo, where things are dark and everything, but your character is a blank slate, or is it something more like Fallout, where you have the basis of a character, or even something like Mass Effect, where you are a character?
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely more on the Diablo side of things, because you always have to focus on something in these types of games, right? And it's a huge endeavor to create a really sort of compelling story in a game. And if we would have taken that approach, you would have prioritized what we're focusing on, which is progression and loot and this power fantasy of being just a nobody who becomes a somebody throughout this game. And in terms of like technically on what that means in terms of quests, it's not like you have a lot of like you don't have these like multiple choices that affect sort of the ending. It's more straightforward. Obviously we don't just want our quest to be kill this, kill that, do this. We try to be a little bit more than that, especially in terms of like fleshing out the lore and giving like the themes and complexity, but we're not aiming for like Pillars of Eternity or Fallout style story. It's definitely not the highest priority in our game.
About what I expected. I mean, that's usually the case in actual Diablo games, and those that follow in its ilk, like Torchlight.
Yeah, for sure.
And I suppose it's worth getting to what you are prioritizing. And one of the things is loot. So, like, how many numbers are you going to be sifting through here?
When you say numbers, what do you mean?
Okay, so to break that down, one of the hallmarks of Diablo style loot gathering is looking at the numbers, seeing which numbers are higher, because you get so much loot so quickly. The higher numbers are going to be usually what you look for.
Yeah, I mean, the game is quite sort of mathematical in that sense, right? That it's deep. I mean, and the difference between, for example, Crystalfall and Diablo 4 is that we don't want to make it as simple as, big numbers better. So it's not like, I'm just looking at one number on my tooltip. No, you have to look at several, and you have to see how they synergize, and you have to make choices about which of those numbers mean more to you, and what is the cost of choosing a specific approach. I think that is our strength, and that is where we lean into like the customization of your build and the theory crafting side of things, is that you have a lot of fun ways to create unique builds. I mean, obviously we're not as if you just open our talent tree, it's not as huge as Path of Exile, which is
To be
in
fair,
some ways
Path
a
of
plus, but it's not as
Exiles is
overwhelming.
absolutely gigantic. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's also Path of Exile's been around for forever and a day.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean the game has had a long time to cook and improve and grow. And I mean, at some point we wanna reach that stage, right, where we have more systems and just more depth. But yeah, one of the beauties of Crystalfall is that it's not as overwhelming to get into. Obviously, we still have a lot of like quality of life to add and like explanations for different terminology. So in that sense, it can be a bit difficult for a new player now. But the thing is that we want the core loop to stay intact, and the core is basically you head into dungeons, you slay monsters, and you get loot. So the priority is not going to be sort of crafting, and it's not going to be like a lot of complexity in the story. It's more like, okay, I have this idea for a playstyle. Can I make it work? Like, if there's this weird node here at the top of this talent tree, how can I reach that? How can I play with that? And it's really fun when we've had play tests and seeing like the players that are really into this theory crafting bit, seeing like what they can get up to, because on one hand you want to sort of help the players understand the systems, but some players really like understanding them themselves, and we like to think that our players are smart, that they can figure it out, and they can they enjoy the discovery and learning part of these types of games, that they can get to feel that they really they figured out something really unique. And of course, they can then share that with the community if they want to. But we've seen some builds that play around losing sort of ether for health, losing health, or destroying specific nodes in your skill tree to upgrade other parts in other skills, and talents that on the surface maybe look a bit like, why would I choose this? But there is a reason why you can choose that, and they figure it out, and it might really break the game with some of the builds they come up with, but that is really fun for us to see. So yeah, that's the beauty of theory crafting, basically.
Emphasis on the crafting, I suppose. Anyway, so you've remarked about the systems and all that, and I want to highlight that at this point because, okay, you claim that you have classless characters, although I think you've mentioned some classes.
Yeah, that seems to be causing some confusion, so we're going to have to look into how we can explain that better. But basically, at some points early in this journey, the classes were locked, so you couldn't play different weapons with let's say the Technomancer. So you wouldn't be able to play a shotgun or a sword. But we thought, why are we restricting the players like this? Let's just let them go wild and crazy with what they create with their builds. So we opened that up instead. So you can play any weapon with the class you're on now. So by classless, what basically means is that you start out with specific attribute, and right now that's intelligence for the Technomancer, but you're not forced to play with rods and the staff. You're not forced to go down the intelligence path. You can play any way you want. Obviously, in the beginning, you're going to have an advantage going with intelligence, especially if you look at the talent tree. But you can path away from that. You can path down to the dex nodes, and you can path up to strength. So you can go whichever way you want, and that's what we mean with classless. That said, we have some skills that require specific weapons. So that there's just as an example, if you want to do the whirlwind, you'll need a sword. And they might even be specific types of sword. And in weaponry, it could be a specific skill requires a shotgun, not just any gun. It has to be a shotgun, or it has to be pistols. So there's some requirements in that sense. But
Okay.
otherwise, you're kind of free to explore. And I mean, we want to add more skills, of course, and more classless skills that don't require a specific weapon as well.
And what classes are available now?
So right now we have the three, the Technomancer, which is a crow mutant, whose primary attribute is intelligence, and then you have the knight, sort of warrior type character, who is a mutated lion with the strength attribute, and then you have the rogue, who's a fox, and she's the dex class. And we're looking to add, down the road, we're looking to add more characters, at least 3 more. What they are specifically, we haven't sort of finalized yet, but obviously with throughout early access and after full release, we want to just keep adding to the game. So we see this journey as endless, basically.
Basically the journey of a live service title in the modern
Exactly.
complaints.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what we've got on screen right now is, I believe, the Next Fest demo.
Yeah, that's right. So the demo is just Act 1. And since it's Act 1, it doesn't have the early stages endgame that will be in early access, and it doesn't have like online. It's offline only.
Okay. And was there a specific purpose to this early access build or this Next Fest build?
Yeah, I mean, the what we wanted to do, I mean, this game has been in development for a while, and we had a lot of players that were discovering the game. And we were sort of, trying to create more visibility and just to spread the word about Crystalfall. And a lot of them were like, okay, but where's the game? I can't play it. Like, where can I, touch it and see what it's like? And we thought, okay, how can we sort of, because the early access wasn't ready. We couldn't just like throw it out there with, knowing that it was not in a, ready enough state. So we thought, okay, let's see if we can do a demo. And we saw that Steam Next Fest was coming up, and we thought we might as well participate in Steam Next Fest. That will help, with the discovery side of things. So we just sort of chopped the game at Act 1 and sort of removed the features that, wouldn't make sense to have, with that cutoff. And I mean, we thought, okay, like, is Act 1 going to be enough? But seeing other demos, demos are usually very short. It's just like a slice of like the core of the game. So in that sense, Act 1 is quite a lot of content. So I think if you play fast, you'll play in like an hour. If you like to at least, explore things and, destroy some crates to get stuff, you're definitely looking at more time than that. And we've had some players, with more than 10 hours. I think we had one with 18 hours, and that's just crazy to see that. That sort of that interest in this discovering and exploring the game, and like the nooks and crannies, like what you can find and what you can sort of squeeze out of just a demo. So that's been really fun. But yeah, that's the reason for the demo, and we knew that it was not perfect. I mean, we've always been very transparent about our early access and like where we are with at the moment with being a small team and trying to sort of prioritize like where our focus should be. So we knew that the demo would not be a perfect polished gem, but it does like what it needs to. It shows people like what Crystalfall is at the most basic, but you also have to remember like these games are end game focused, right? And that's our approach, especially like our focus is the end game. So the early, like the first hour of the game is not going to be the most fun hour of the game. We've tried to give it like the little oomph with like the tutorial, fighting that boss, and like all the skills and you can anything can drop. Basically, you'll be able to see some other skills like at the merchants, being able to explore a bit what you can do, but you're not going to get the full experience in the demo.
It makes sense since it is, well, just a demo. Anyway, we do have a question from the chat, and your barista Casper asks, will there be set items?
Set items,
I
as
assume
in
that
like
items
yeah,
that
I
will
think
be.
I know what he means.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the latest discussion. I mean, bear in mind that I'm not the designer, so I don't have
He
all the
says,
answers.
think like the green item sets from Diablo.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember what the final decision was there. We discussed it at some point. I think our designers will be able to say a lot more. But I don't think like the set is the way we're going for. I mean,
guess I was gonna say
it
kind
kind
of
of takes away from the excitement of the loot drop in our opinion.
I guess kind of a branching question off that, at least for the demo. Are the drops going to be more geared towards the class you're playing as, be more useful for them?
So the things that are geared for your class is like what you get from quests. Um,
So you can basically get
everything
anything on
else
the
is
drop table.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. So everything else is kind of like chance, and we know that sort of that can affect sort of
Right.
how much you understand the potential of your character at the start, because if you only drop skills that you can't use with your starting weapon, obviously they're going to sit and wait there until you find that weapon that you can explore them. So there's that for sure.
Right.
And indeed, we have another chat question. Shadow 1989 CZ is wondering if there will be plans for PlayStation 5 controller support. I suppose.
Yeah, so we've gotten this question a lot, and we really understand. I mean, I personally am also like a big fan of controller support, but it is a huge implementation for this kind of game. And we've always said from the start that this game is primarily PC, it's primarily like mouse and keyboard, and that was like the core audience that we wanted to attract. We want to be able to say that we can add controller support and WSD, but we have to prioritize. That's just the reality with being a small studio. I mean, we're already swamped basically. We're trying to we're trying to polish, we're trying to squash bugs, we're trying to plan ahead, for patches that we're going to do down the road. So it's not like it's not happily that we say that we can't do this. We wish we could, but it's just not a reality where we are now. And we've discussed like, is there like a minimum viable version that we can do? But without those discussions and without seeing how that can affect other systems and how to balance that with the players who are mouse and keyboard only, we don't want to just throw it in there. We want to be able to do this properly, and we want to be able to see like, is this gonna break the game? Is it gonna cause a ton of bugs that we're not ready for? Is it gonna have unexpected consequences? So that's why we've always said like, okay, we hear you and we understand like why you want this, of course, but if that becomes possible, we will basically make that announcement, of course. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's actually the proper stance to take, given not just the type of game this is, but where the game is located. Like, to put simply, if you were bringing Crystalfall to the PlayStation 5 properly, or the Xbox Series X, what have you, then having controller support would be much more important.
Yeah, because then you would have to, and that would be super cool, down the road, like having a partner to help us port the game to PlayStation 5 and Xbox. If that becomes possible, it would be amazing if those partners could help us with that, because it's always a question of time and resources. But we would love to see Crystalfall on console. Of course we would. But to begin with, we just have to have a solid ARPG that gets the gameplay side of things right, and we're still there trying to fine-tune things and polish, and balancing is a huge endeavor in a game like this. That's why we're doing early access, to involve the players and to get their feedback before everything is just you don't want to say that if a feature is finished. You always want to iterate and improve and grow the game, and that's we see that that's what the community wants. They want to be involved, and that's why we said, let's involve them. Let's do early access.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And suppose, speaking of such things, what's been the feedback and reaction to the Next Fest demo?
I mean, we are kind of blown away by the response, because Steam Next Fest has 3,000 games or so participating, and some of those games are huge. Marathon was on there. Games that have millions and millions of players. So for us, it was kind of like we're just happy to be here. And when we saw sort of Crystalfall was popping up on on trending, and it was popping up on like the popular demos and top demos, we were like, okay, this is cool. And after Steam Next was done, we saw that we were in the top 50. We just got an email from Steam. We had no idea. Where it says like, keep your demo up because you're in the top 50 played sort of demos during Steam Next Fest. We were like, okay, that's really cool, unexpected. We didn't even know this was a thing that Steam did. So thank you, Steam, for that. And I mean, we did have 58,000 Steam library ads. We reached 100,000 wish lists. So Steam Next Fest was amazing for us. And in terms of feedback, I mean, the main feedback point that we have gotten that was, negative was like, okay, WSD and controller support. Fair enough. But we also got really great feedback from the players that we know, like, this game is for you, the theory crafting fans. Talking about like the procedural systems and the discovery and the talent tree, and being able to get like the uniques that our approach to uniques is that they should matter, and your ground loot should matter, and that they sort of they get it. I mean, obviously they're going to point out things that need tweaking and improvement, and we absolutely agree. The game is not, it's not a full release. We haven't even done our early access launch yet. So we are aware of a lot of like feedback points that need polishing, and the fact that the players bring them up is good, because that confirms that we know what we're doing, that we're heading in the right direction. And in terms of like priorities, that is the question. Like, okay, should we prioritize WSD over keeping the gameplay mechanic focus, where we like keep refining things? I mean, that's a different discussion. We would like to think that the gameplay matters first, right? But game dev is hard. You have to plan ahead. So we can't just like drop our plans and jump on something new. We have to stick to the roadmap, and we have to stick to what we've got our year tasks, and we know sort of where we're heading for patch 1 and so forth. So things come up, and we will address them down the road, but we can't like fix them. I mean, things that have come up in Steam Nexus, we are addressing them, and we're looking, especially like smaller things, we should be able to fix at least some for early access. But the bigger implementations, that's just going to have to come in a patch down the road, or for full release, or after full release.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of such things, we do have another question relating to maximum character levels. I suppose I'll double up here. And what's the maximum character level you can get in the demo, and what are you aiming for the early access release?
Max level. 1 sec. Åke, what was the max level? What?
Live research.
70. There you go. It's a good thing that I got a colleague here with me. Yeah, so 70 is the max level in early access.
Yeah. Well, there's confirmation there. It will be level 70. And is that going to hold steady for all, like when you launch into early access, or are you maybe potentially raising the cap to, like, say, 75 in between the demo and the early access?
I actually don't know.
I guess it also depends how long it takes people to get to 70. If you can't even get to 70 the demo time frame,
Yeah.
But yeah, right. And I think, it might be that it increases for like the next big patch, but I don't have that confirmed.
Mm. Right, and we've got some people in the chat saying that in the demo it took forever to get to level 22, for example. So
Yeah.
it seems
I
like
mean, they have really squeezed out everything you could get from the demo. It's really fun that people have reached that level in the first place. It brings a smile to our face because that means that they like the game, right? And that's all that matters to us.
quite. So it does sound like the Next Fest demo is staying up even after Next Fest wraps up, although I think it's already wrapped up.
Yeah, so I mean, Steam asked us to because they made like a list of top 50 demos and they're like promoting it on Steam. So players are gonna check that list and click on the different games that are there. So Steam wants you to keep the demo up so that the players who discover the games can actually try them. On our Steam page, there's also like a banner that says participate, the top 50 participants Steam Next Fest. So I mean, we're keeping it up at least until when early access launches. There's no point having a demo, so we'll close it down then, and that's just the early access is there with 5 acts, so no point playing the demo then.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, especially since I'm not sure if it's been mentioned up to this point, but this game is aiming to be free to play, correct?
Yes, that's right. Both in early access and on full release.
Like, so, well, that naturally brings up a question that, not the most savory, but it's got to be asked, and that is the monetization scheme, because the game does have to make money some way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are aiming for the same sort of model that other free-to-play RPGs have, and I mean that's dash tabs and it's supporter packs, inventory space, and I mean this is the way you can support the development of Crystalfall. That's how the studio is going to keep being able to improve the game and add new features. And we're really excited to show, because we've had some like comments asking for specific cosmetics, and it's going to be really fun to show them, because we've already sort of planned some of the cosmetics, and we see that we have made some of the things that people are asking for, so that it's going to be fun to show them off.
That's good to hear. And do you have a sort of price range for the cosmetics in mind yet?
Prices are going to be similar-ish to what other games have. I mean, we haven't announced anything on that side yet, so that information will be available when early access launches.
Are you going to be seeing about doing some sort of like glamour transmog system where you can make your gear look different but still have the stats you want, basically?
Yeah, basically, like you'll be able to, yeah, basically yes.
Is the monetization only going to be towards cosmetics, or are stats and such going to be in the equation as well?
It's cosmetics and like dash tabs and inventory space.
So you're not going to be
So,
able
like,
to buy power, basically.
no.
Okay. Good. Always, like, probably the most controversial of monetizations with these things, the pay to win scheme, as they call it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah. And I suppose it's worth asking, how far out do you think that the actual early access release is at this point?
How far? I mean, do you mean when it launches?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we just announced yesterday that the early access is launching on March 20th, so that's not too far to go now.
Indeed. Yeah, just a week and a half away.
Yeah, it's a Friday as well. So we thought, Friday seems to be the day to do it, since most players want to game on the weekends. So yeah,
Makes
March
sense.
20th.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So another question is, how many stash tabs will be available freely before purchasing more?
1.
All right.
Okay then.
How easy is it to like get rid of inventory? Can you just simply drop it, or do you need to take it to like a merchant and vend it?
Yeah, I mean you would go to like the encampments, and that's where you have your stash.
Ah, oh, it's not your on not your on player inventory. That's more of a what some people would consider a bank. Is what you're.
Kind of. Yeah,
All
I
right.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and how big is a party going to be in the early access release?
So early access is not going to have co-op. That is planned for the full release. And I think I don't think we I don't know if I know the the final party size. I think it was like 3 or 4. But yeah, that's coming to full release.
Okay. That's actually good to know. Hopefully, there isn't too much disappointment expressed there, because I'd imagine that a lot of people, both within and outside the community, are looking forward to that feature in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of players play these kinds of games single player, but you do want to have, you do want to have co-op. Um, and I think the issue here is more on like a terminology side of things, because like uh, Crystalfall will have multiplayer in early access. But what does multiplayer mean? It seems to mean different things for different people. For us in early access, that basically means you'll be able to see other players, and we have like an early stage version of in-game trading, so that you'll be able to trade in game with other players. But on Steam, like co-op is a separate tag, and co-op for us is when you are able to party up. So I think we removed that tag now just to not confuse players, with the wrong expectations. Even though we are planning to have co-op for full release, for early access, since it's not going to be there in the start of early access, I think we took away that tag just to be transparent.
Okay. And another chat question: do you plan to add a legendary gem stash tab that would be only for legendary items, like in PoE 1 and 2?
Not impossible. I think we might have discussed that at some point, so it might be, down the road sort of thing. But it's not something we'll have in early access, I don't believe.
Okay. Is there any plans for a PvP mode?
No, Crystalfall is PvE only for now. I think we discussed PvP as well, but it's not really like viable where we are at now. I think even in full release, we won't have PvP. So if that's something that comes, it's distant future thing.
Okay. And how long do you aim to have the early access period for?
So we're thinking about like 9 months, which would put full release about like 2027. But it also depends a lot on the community feedback. It depends on how much feedback we get, how much we need to keep iterating and polishing. But we were planning to be in early access for about 9 months.
Okay, that's a fairly typical amount of time. Um, and what sorts of environments do you have planned beyond the one that we're seeing on screen right now?
Yeah, so the Act 1 is like primarily this like prison island area where all the misfits and outcasts are stuck in. So like the main thing you want to do here in the start of the game is to escape. You're trying to escape Prison Island. And the next acts are going to feature some different biomes. I mean, we have the sort of desert, plain, mountainy landscape in Act 3. We have a sort of a rundown metropolis that's like a city of a different civilization almost that is all in ruins, and that's Act 4. And then we have like a winterscape in Act 5. And I mean it's really fun because I mean at this point we are brainstorming all the future things that will come in different patches, and we're kind of going to it's really fun to see what more in terms of environments we're going to add to the game, and leaning even more into the steampunk stuff, and dungeons that we haven't ourselves seen before in the RPGs that we've played.
And from the chat, I assume the end game will involve running maps like in PoE or Last Epic. Can you please tell us more about it?
Yeah, so the end game that we'll have in early access is at like early stages, and it's basically like mapping with a bit of a twist. So the maps are lootable, they're craftable, tradable items. You place them into like a map device, which highlights. You have like this grid of tiles, highlights which tile you can travel to. By the type of the map, you place like the biome of the map. So like a desert map will take you to a desert tile, and those maps hold like modifiers, and that modify how hard and rewarding that instance is going to be. And when you've done that, the map is consumed, and you portal to that area, and you typical run. You kill bosses, get cool items, and then you continue. Basically, it's a procedural setup as well.
And I think something else to touch upon is the magic system. Is it going to be anything in depth, or is it just like, pick a spell and shoot?
It's pretty much pick a spell and shoot. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but the skills have procedural skill trees as well. So if you open the tree for like the double slice skills you have now, that those nodes will be different in a different double slice skill. So just because you've got a double slice, you're not done. There are more double slices you will want to check out and compare, and if they drop in a high rarity, they'll have a bigger tree. So this is just a common skill, so it has just these 4 nodes, and it's 3x3 on uncommon, 4x4 on rare, and 5x5 on unique. So
will you be able to like put a marker or something on them to help you differentiate? Like, say I want a double slice that has more of a regen ability, or if I'm fighting a boss, I'd want one that does more damage.
you mean in terms of like
if I get 2 instances of this double slice skill,
right?
Would I be able to mark it so if I have a particularly loadout I want to do, but then something I want to change for like something different, but still use the similar ability, just with different skills available to it?
I mean, at this point, you would kind of have to save these skills in your inventory, in your stash. I mean, if you go into a specific instance where you want to use a specific type of double slice, you would have to switch it. I mean, we're looking to add like a skill UI menu where this system is easier to manage. So that's something we're planning to add down the road. But at this point now in early access, you'll have to sort of manually save your skills in inventory
Okay.
for when you want to use them.
Yeah. So like if I want to be more of a tank, I'd have something that would give me regen compared to if somebody wants to be more DPS, probably I want to do more damage than specifically regenerating health.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you would probably want to like respec in your talent tree as well to work around that, but yeah.
Right.
All right. So we are getting low on time here. So I'm going to call last call for questions from both my colleagues and the chat here.
I think I'm good, but we'll give
Yeah, I
chat a
think I'm
minute.
satisfied.
Right. Like I said, to the chat, if you've got anything else you wish to add, ask it now.
All right. Yeah, I will give it like 15 more seconds just somebody pop up and let us know they're at least typing up a question.
Right.
Because
It's kind of hard to gauge when on the time delay.
Yeah.
Was there a character that you preferred between the knight and the technomancer?
I was liking the knight more when I just started that, just because I prefer melee classes.
Hey, cool. Yeah,
right.
I mean, melee is typically like the harder approach in these types of games, but yeah, it's a fun class. Like I'm personally also more of a melee player typically, but just like stylistically and like how she like looks and works, I am more of a technomancer player in our game, and yeah, if you do like keep playing, I would probably pick ice shards with technomancer. That's my tip.
At
We
least
also, I
till
think
it
we
gets
had
nerfed,
some.
right?
I mean, we're always going to have to sort of balance based
Oh,
on what
yeah.
players come up with, but yeah, ice shards is a good approach now. And I think for the night, we had someone in our community who posted like their build for the night for like a spin to win build. So there's
Those
that
are
if
the
you want to if
best.
you want to go down that route. But yeah, really fun to see you play. And I mean, it is hard to cover like all the bases of this game in a short time. I feel like I might have been able to explain a bit more about like the procedural system. But yeah, it's a first look into the game, and
Right.
and with early access, I mean, the demo is here. It's still available for people who want to try it. And in early access, I mean, that's where things get, start for real. That's, when we're going to do hot fixes and we're going to do patches, and we're really excited to get started. We didn't want to like hold off on early access for longer. We want the game in the players' hands. We want to work on improving the game and with their feedback. So
where do you prefer
we'll
people
see you
go
then.
to submit their feedback? Your Discord? Do you have a website?
Typically, Discord is a good place because it's easier to have a conversation.
Fair.
Because usually there's questions that come up, or someone is unsure if something is it a feature, or is it a bug, and that requires a conversation. Of course, it's really fun to it's fun to get like the reviews on Steam as well, but when it comes to sort of being able to address the feedback, it's much easier to do that on Discord.
Right.
But I mean, people will choose the avenue that suits them. But we like to think that we can have a conversation. I mean, we are a very sort of community first studio. We're here and we're listening, and I mean, I try to be sort of everywhere, helping the players and answering questions, and yeah, Discord is good for that.
Indeed. And right. So I think that'll about do it for the here and now. Though we do hope to have you back, maybe in a year's time when the game is ready to enter its 1.0 release.
Oh yeah, that would be something.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
But until then, the game is Crystalfall. It is currently available in the form of the Steam Next Fest demo. and it is coming out in early access on March 20th, 2026, about 13 days from time of broadcast. So either go and try the demo or be sure to wish list it in advance of its release. And if you enjoyed today's interview, as always, be sure to hit the subscribe feature to get and the notification bell in order to know when our next broadcast is. And on that note, we will be back on Sunday for our traditional reviews. And until then, we shall wish you good gaming.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me.